in, everybody. A little bit of a Tuesday night bonus episode of the Aaron Torres Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Torres. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's having a great day. By the way, do hope everybody got a chance to listen to Monday night's show. A lot of reaction to Cooper Flag, NBA Draft Lottery, and a couple other topics that certainly made waves. Tonight's something a little bit different. So last week we had Jaden Quaintance, forward committed to Kentucky out of the portal. Tonight, how about this? A bonus Kentucky interview as Reece Potter, at least as I'm recording, newest member of the Kentucky Wildcats, a Lexington native who committed last week. Reece Potter joins the Aaron Torres pod. By the way, everyone who's not a Kentucky fan is going to complain, Torres, too much Kentucky coverage. When you have a chance to interview guys that could be part of a national championship type team next season, you take full advantage, and that's exactly what we're going to do with Reece Potter. 7'1" from Lexington. And listen, this is the kind of guy that could be the difference between Kentucky early in the season, dealing with injuries, late in the season, whatever. He is going to be an important piece for this team, and I'm so excited. We dive into all sorts of things. Being recruited by Kentucky, growing up in Lexington, kind of scary, barely remembers the John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins teams, which just makes me feel really old. But Reece Potter joins us here in just a moment. Before we get started, a couple quick reminders. One, make sure that you are subscribed to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. New clips, new videos going up every single day. We appreciate your support. By the way, if you're not subscribed on Apple and Spotify, do your boy Torres a favor, subscribe there as well. New episodes there. Leave a 5-star rating and review. Really would appreciate that support. Speaking of appreciating support, you know whose support I appreciate? That of our friends, that of our partners, that of Collie Puffs and ColliePuffs.com. Okay, so I've told you all about Collie Puffs, but it's that time of year. It is beach season. It's pool season. It's mowing the lawn with your shirt off season. And so you need to, frankly, let's be honest, not look like a disgusting slob. So what you need, my friends, is Collie Puffs and ColliePuffs.com. Family-owned company, not far from where I live. Joey, as I've told you, huge sports fan, Rams season ticket holder. He was part of our Aaron Torres pod survivor pool. Well, he was sitting on the couch watching football one day, said, I need a snack that is both healthy but delicious, something my family's going to love, my kids are going to love, but I'm going to love as well. He came up with Collie Puffs. Baked, not fried, avocado oil, no grease, healthy ingredients, but the best part is they taste delicious. So many of you have tried them. Really do appreciate your support. If you have not tried them yet, what are you waiting for? For more information or to try them yourself, visit ColliePuffs.com. That's CAULIPUFFS.com, ColliePuffs.com. You can also get them on Amazon.com. I know you already got a cart open on Amazon. Don't know what's in that cart, you filthy animal, for lack of a better term. But throw some Collie Puffs in on Amazon. You can try them there as well. All right. Thank you again to Collie Puffs. Now it is time to get to our interview with Reece Potter. By the way, as always, make sure that you are following our Torres on UK page for late breaking Kentucky coverage. You can always get yourself one of those beautiful Hope and Pope t-shirts as well. Hope and Pope. But now it is time for Kentucky Center, new Kentucky Center, Reece Potter, who joins the Aaron Torres pod right now. All right, joining me via Zoom. Really excited about this one. He is, at least as of now, the way Coach Pope recruits, you never know, but the newest Kentucky Wildcat, of course, from the city of Lexington, just committed within the last few days. Reece Potter is joining me. Reece, man, what's going on?
Nothing much. It's been an exciting week for sure. Really excited to be here and, put on the Kentucky jersey. So
I was going to say, I got to ask, we know the backstory. You grew up in Lexington. I'm sure you've been asked this in every interview you've done. Is it still surreal to hear newest Kentucky Wildcat, Reece Potter, for a kid who grew up in Lexington?
Oh, extremely. I got to pinch myself every time people say it. I know it doesn't feel real. It's a dream come true for sure.
All right, so I'm going to ask you, and I'm a little afraid of this answer. So for the second time, you grew up in Lexington. My math tells me, you're going into your junior year of college, so you're probably about 20, 21 years old. What is your earliest memory of Kentucky basketball? And again, as an old guy, I'm a little scared of your answer, but do you remember? Yeah, do you remember John Wall? What?
Yeah, John Wall. John Wall was definitely the big thing I remember for sure. Everybody used to do the John Wall dance. That was the big thing when he came out for Big Blue Madness and started doing that. So that's definitely probably the earliest memory I have for sure, because everybody used to do it. Everybody used to do that.
So what do you remember about the John Wall dance? Was it like everybody in, preschool was just doing the John Wall dance, or what was the deal?
Oh, 100%. Everybody thought they were cool if they could do it, and so everybody would argue who's got the best John Wall dance for sure.
Really? What outside of John Wall, what are some of your favorite? Obviously, we all know the 2012 championship, which again, you probably would have been 7, 8, 9 years old, somewhere in there. What are your favorite memories of just watching Kentucky basketball growing up in Lexington?
Just always March Madness. So during spring break, I felt like we were always watching Kentucky and Florida, and so there would always be just a big Kentucky group, and everybody would be cheering against us, and so we'd be at some restaurant or something just cheering, and everybody would be like, "You're in Florida. Why are you screaming for Kentucky right now?" So that's probably the greatest memory, some of my best memories I have.
All right, so I might have missed this story. So I know you went to Lexington Cap. Did you spend part of your childhood in Florida?
No, just during spring break. So
Oh, okay.
during the March Madness runs.
Sure. So you're going on spring break, you're going down to Disney or whatever, and you're finding a place to watch the Kentucky game.
Oh, 100%. We would go as a group, and then everybody would be like, "Oh, I guess they're from Kentucky or something," because we'd be screaming our heads off.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit about your basketball journey. I mean, even before you get to Miami, obviously, 7'1". I assume probably at a young age you were pretty. I mean, was basketball outside of rooting for Kentucky was just what like when did you realize, oh, I'm pretty good at this basketball thing, and this might be something that I could do, beyond just elementary school, high school, whatever.
I would definitely say probably my sophomore summer. So I was always baseball, basketball. So basketball during the winter and then baseball during the summer. So it was always like during the summer I never played AAU. And then eventually I hurt myself playing baseball. And so I had nothing to do during the summer. And some AAU team hit me up with Griffin Elite. And they were like, you got nothing to do, might as well just come play for us. And that weekend I gained a couple Big East offers, and then I got a bunch of people calling me because I actually got lucky and matched up against the top player in the country and did pretty well. So after that, I was kind of like, wow, I should probably quit the baseball thing and just focus on basketball. I seem to be decent at this, and it seems to be working out for me. So.
Fantastic. So you said, do you mind sharing who I don't want to put anybody on blast, but who was the player that you kind of blew up against?
Xavier Booker. So that's when he was blowing up at the time. He was McDonald's All-American, and he had all the hype around him. So there was a lot of eyes on that game for sure, watching him.
Awesome. Xavier Booker now at UCLA. So you play the last 2 years at Miami of Ohio. Take us into, anytime anybody enters the portal, it's always going to be a tough decision. I talked to somebody at Miami the other day. They said we love Reese. We wish him nothing but the best. And how tough was the decision to enter the portal, and really just what went behind the decision after 2 years at Miami of Ohio?
Oh, it was an extremely tough decision. I love my time at Miami. These are some of my best friends and some people I'm gonna cherish and be friends with for the rest of my life. So, telling them I had, it's time for me to go. It was very hard. And then Coach Steele recruited me for a long time. Like since my sophomore year of high school, I've known him. He recruited me at X. So it was very tough to have those conversations, but they were open and honest conversations. I kind of told them I'm looking for something bigger. I want to compete for national championships. I'm not just looking to try to win MAC championships. That's always been the goal since ever since high school. It's you want to win the main thing. Like you're not just there to win cities or regions. You're there to compete for state championships. So that's always been my goal. Always competing. I want to compete against the best people, and I want to go for it all always.
When you said, that game against Xavier Booker, you got a few Big East offers. I assume Xavier was probably one of them.
Yes, sir. That was the first one that kind of started all the madness. So he took a chance on me early, and I'm forever grateful for Coach Steele.
That's awesome. Yeah, for people who don't know, Travis Steele was at Xavier, now at Miami of Ohio. You guys obviously make a run to the MAC championship game this year. And so I think it speaks to how tough the decision probably. But you didn't really enter the portal till probably the final day or two before it closed, right?
I entered the first week, I think, is
Oh,
when
really?
so I entered pretty early.
Oh, well, I'm an idiot and didn't do the proper research. I
You're good. You're
apologize.
good.
Well, take us into it, because obviously you were a known commodity. And when you enter, I mean, are you just going in with open eyes? I mean, you said obviously a place the highest level possible, compete for national championships, but I don't know, just when you did enter the portal, when that name hits that, not a literal piece of paper, but that computer screen, how does your life change when you actually enter the portal?
It's pretty crazy. I mean, it's pretty hectic. It's a fast couple months. It's not like high school where you have a couple years to, learn programs and, talk to coaches and, get a feel for like how you fit in that and, how you feel about the campus and all that stuff. So it's definitely fast moving for sure. But, helped out a lot since I'm from Lexington. It's kind of like, oh, well, I kind of know what everything's going on there. So just a couple of honest conversations with the coach Pope, and that's all it took to be honest with you. I mean, I know what it is to be a Kentucky Wildcat. Everybody loves them. So, it wasn't hard to recruit me.
Is it true when Coach Feger reached out, you thought it was a prank call?
Yeah, yeah, I was actually in Lexington. So I thought one of my friends was just joking with me because they were all like, "You should come home, come to Lexington, come to Lexington." I was like, I don't think Kentucky's in the cards. I think I had a decent year the last year, but they're a little bit above my pay grade right now. And so when he officially texted me, it said like Coach Feger, Kentucky. I was like, I'm not sure about this. And I showed my dad, and my dad was like, "We got to respond." And I was like, "Well, of course." But I was like, it was kind of, and then he called me right away, and so it was really cool for him to reach out.
Is it one of those, like, I know you're probably too young to go to a bar, but like when you meet a girl at a bar or whatever, it's like don't text right away? Was it like one of those deals or not really? It's just like do this as quick as we realize. Once we figured out it was actually Coach Feger, we got to get back to him as quick as possible.
I mean, yeah, at first I was kind of like, yeah, you can't just respond like a second later. But I felt like I wait. It was the longest 2 minutes of my life. I felt like after 2 minutes, I was like, I gotta text him back. I can't wait, have them waiting too long.
That's awesome. And, obviously, you mentioned it wasn't a hard sales pitch for Coach Pope, but when you actually, whether it was on the phone, in person, whatever, I mean, what was their actual sales pitch to you as far as the contribution that you could make to this program?
So yeah, so when I was able to go meet with Coach Pope and talk to him in person, we just kind of talked about the development piece was the main thing to me because that was kind of like my biggest thing. I want to develop myself, try to get to the next level. I mean, that's the biggest thing people are always looking for. And there's no better place to do than Kentucky. They got the best strength coach, best trainer, best, best coaches. So I mean, it's not hard to recruit. And then they kind of just showed the progress some of the older players showed last year between, you know, all the players, Amari Williams, Lamont Butler, they were older players and, they had their highest efficiencies and stuff like that at, in the best conference last year in the SEC. They were able to contribute at a better level than they were at previous.
That's very interesting. Now, let me ask you this, and I don't want to in any way I hope this doesn't come off as negative, but I think, people see Brandon Garrison returning. People see Jaden Quaintance as a McDonald's All-American. Obviously, we just had Jaden on the show, and, he's going
Yes, sir.
through recovery, but, he believes he'll be ready for the start of the season. Um, was there any talk of what, because fans perceive the role will be this, we have Brandon Garrison coming back, etc. Was there talk of the role? Is it just the best player earns minutes, or like outside of the developmental piece and hey, take these 2 years to become the best version of yourself? Was there an actual discussion about what expectations are for you, or what the coaching staff hopes to get out of you next season specifically?
Yeah, there was definitely talks about that. I mean, Jaden Quintons and Brandon Garrison and, Malachi Moreno and all those players. I mean, they're future lottery picks. I mean, they're NBA players, that's for sure. I mean, they're on the boards next year. So it's definitely gonna be fun to go against them next year, develop myself, try to get as good as possible and, get them ready for every game, that's my role. So I'm up for anything. I'm an older player. I've been here. I like winning. So, winning's fun. Everybody enjoys winning, whether you're playing or you're not playing. So, that's kind of going to be my role next year. To just get as good at develop myself as much as possible and just get everybody else ready to go. And if my role is to be on the court, then that's my role.
Obviously, you talked about how they can potentially make you better, but how do you think that you'll be able to make them better on a day-to-day basis?
I mean, yeah. So I probably do things. I do a couple of things at a high level. Other things, definitely got to work on and get better. So, they got to go against me every day still. I don't think I'm a bum. So, they're gonna make
No.
me better, and I'm gonna make them a little bit better every single day. Whether I'm just gonna work hard and practice every day.
Yeah, and for those people who maybe didn't live in the Lexington area, couldn't watch you in high school, maybe didn't get a chance to watch you at Miami of Ohio, tell us a little bit about your game and what fans should be expecting next season.
I would definitely say I would like to say it's more NBA style, faster flow, 5 out, that's kind of my game, being on the perimeter, being able to make, tough passes and then, being able to expand the court. I like to be able to, let the guards go to work because, the big can't help over or be a shot blocker down there because they got to guard me at the 3-point line. That's something I do at a pretty high level is being able to shoot the three.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned your the way you came up and you obviously play baseball, etc. Have you always been kind of like the quote unquote new age five man? I mean, did you how did you evolve your game where at 7'1" you can step out and hit threes? Is that something you always did? Or how did that all work? Because I'm just fascinated. You know how it is back in the day. If you were
Yes,
the
sir.
tallest kid on the court, they put you 2 feet from the basket, but you can obviously do a lot of things with the ball in your hands and also behind the 3-point arc.
Yeah, that was always something that I took pride in. I never wanted to just be the big kid down there. I never didn't want to do that at all. So I was always trying to be one of the guards because I'm kind of jealous of them. They always get to have the ball in the hands.
Sure.
They always gonna make the fancy plays, the highlights, and so I always just try to kind of be like that. So that was kind of what I was trying to do when I was younger. And then obviously I kept growing, and I was like, now I kind of got to be down there a little bit. But I always was working on my shot, so I was able to keep doing that.
We're already in the middle of May here. I mean, how many weeks until you actually report, and just how excited are you to get on campus if you're not there already, and just get to work with the guys?
Yeah, so we reported, I guess, in the beginning of June. So I'm really excited to meet all of them. I know a couple of players like Jasper, Trent, Malachi, but they're great people, and I'm really excited to meet the rest of them. Coach Pep has nothing but great things. Last year the culture was great, and he's going to continue that. So he only recruits high level culture and high level kids. So I'm looking forward to meeting everybody.
I don't know if you had any relationship with Coach Pope before this process, but what has your first, or I assume probably pretty close to first impression, been about him and the program that he's building at Kentucky?
He's doing great things. He came here towards the end of recruiting, and he was able to build a great team and take them to Sweet 16. So, I mean, his goal is to obviously hang another banner. He's already done it once, now he's doing it as a coach. But,
I was going to say, can you get the sense, I mean, he talks about in every interview he does how important it is. As you just said, he left the legacy as a player, but now he wants to build and leave one as a coach. I mean, this is
yes,
no
sir.
disrespect. Yeah, I was going to say, no disrespect to any coach who has ever been there before, but I do feel like there is a different, and I think he's used this word too, but responsibility that comes with being the head coach at Kentucky. Not just being with the head coach at Kentucky, but knowing what the expectations are and doing your part as the head coach to kind of continue to build on the history and all that.
Yeah, he knows what it takes. I mean, he already did it before, and he knows what the Kentucky fans want. They want banners, and so he knows what his responsibility is, and he knows what the goal is, and he's gonna work as hard as he can to get to that goal every day. He's a very intelligent individual. He knows what it's gonna have to take. So I'm looking forward to it.
Real quick, you and I are recording here. We probably will save this interview for a couple days from now. But the day that the Louisville game is announced for November 11th. First of all, by the way, you got any good Kentucky Louisville memories from when you were a kid? Any of the games stand out?
Definitely the Tyler Ulis game when he went off and his eye was bleeding. That's probably the most one everybody talks about. But I always remember him just getting whacked, and then him coming back and him just absolutely giving them hell.
Wildcat through and through. I was going to say though, outside of just your memories, you look at the schedule. I mean, Purdue in the preseason exhibition
Yes, sir.
slate, Louisville, Michigan State, St. John's, Indiana. Again, no disrespect to Miami. I know you played some good teams there, but again, just the soaking it all in of like, I'm going to be on some of the biggest stages against some of the biggest schools, Hall of Fame coaches. I have to imagine, and I'm thinking about this only because the Louisville game was officially announced for November 11th. So I'm just
Yes,
thinking
sir.
how exciting it must be to see all those games on a piece of paper.
Oh, I'm incredibly looking forward to it. I mean, those were some of my favorite games playing. I've played Michigan last year, I played Indiana, packed arenas. That's what everybody kind of looks forward to. Those are the biggest games on the schedule. And, that's even before the SEC even starts. So it's going to be a gauntlet for sure.
The last one, for people who either have seen you play or haven't seen you play, what can they expect from you as you get set to come to Lexington in a couple weeks? But you're going to be on the
Yes,
court
sir.
next season. What can fans expect from you?
Just a hardworking kid, just providing energy every day, perfecting my craft every day, just working hard every day to try to get better and better.
Reece Potter, the newest Kentucky Wildcat. Man, I so appreciate you making a few minutes here.
Thank you.
No, have fun, man. Live it up. We cannot wait to watch you on the court, and hopefully we talk again soon, okay?
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.